The detention cell was cold, white, and perfectly clean. Every surface reflected the harsh overhead lights that never dimmed, never flickered. Taesung sat in the center of the room on a metal chair that was bolted to the floor. Heavy chains wrapped around his wrists and ankles, connecting to anchor points on the chair itself. The chains were made from some alien metal he didn't recognize, but he knew they were strong enough to hold something much larger than him. He looked tired. Burns covered his left arm, still healing in patches of angry red and pink. A deep scar ran from his right eyebrow to his cheek, fresh enough that it hadn't fully closed. His military uniform was torn and stained with blood, both his own and others. Despite all of this, Taesung sat with his back straight and his eyes calm, almost relaxed. The door opened with a hiss of compressed air. 3 figures entered the room. The first was tall, impossibly tall, nearly 8 feet from its narrow feet to the top of its triangular head. Its body was covered in smooth green plates that overlapped like armor. 4 arms hung from its torso, each ending in 3 long fingers that looked sharp enough to cut steel. 2 large black eyes dominated its face with no visible pupils. This was Ambassador Velthrax of the Cathari hegemony, one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the Galactic Council. Behind Velthrax came 2 smaller creatures. One looked like a floating jellyfish wrapped in a containment suit filled with purple gas. The other resembled a bear made of stone, each step causing small vibrations in the floor. They took positions on either side of the door, watching Taesung with expressions he couldn't read. Velthrax approached the chair slowly, studying the human like a scientist might study an interesting insect. When it spoke, its voice came from a translator device attached to its chest. The sound was neutral, mechanical, stripped of all emotion. Corporal Taesung of the human military, you have been captured in violation of the Demilitarized Zone Agreement. Your ship was destroyed. Your crew is dead. You are alone. Taesung said nothing. He just looked up at the alien and waited. The Galactic Council wishes to understand something, Velthrax continued. Your species has been at war with 3 different empires for 17 months. By all projections, you should have been defeated within weeks. Yet you survive. More than survive. You fight us to a standstill. How? Lucky, I guess, Taesung said. His voice was rough, probably from smoke inhalation or screaming. Hard to tell which. One of the alien's 4 hands made a sharp gesture. Luck does not explain the destruction of 47 capital ships. Luck does not account for the loss of 3 colony worlds. Luck does not justify the fear that your species now generates across civilized space. Then maybe we're just good at what we do. No. Velthrax leaned forward, and Taesung could see small breathing holes along its neck opening and closing. We have analyzed your biology. We have studied your homeworld. We understand your limitations. You have no natural armor, no venom, no psionic abilities. Your physical strength is average at best compared to the galactic standard. Your lifespans are short. Your reproduction rate is slow. By every measurable metric, you should be prey species. Prey does not defeat predators. Yet here we are. Taesung shifted in his chair, making the chains rattle. You're asking the wrong question. Then what is the right question? You want to know what makes us dangerous. What makes us apex predators? Taesung smiled, and it wasn't a friendly smile. You should be asking what made us this way. Behind the one-way mirror that made up the right wall of the cell, Ilhwa watched the interrogation with growing dread. She was human like Taesung, but she wore the gray robes of a council-approved xenobiologist. Her job was to help aliens understand humanity, to serve as a bridge between species. Right now she wished she was anywhere else. Next to her stood 3 council members, their various forms of breathing creating an odd symphony in the observation room. One of them, a creature that looked like a collection of floating crystals, pulsed with light as it spoke. Your species confuses us, researcher Ilhwa. This soldier shows no fear. He was captured, injured, isolated from his kind, yet he remains defiant. Is this normal human behavior? Ilhwa swallowed hard. Yes, very normal. Explain. How could she explain? How could she make them understand what thousands of years of human history had created? She tried anyway. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We didn't chase prey by being faster. We chased them until they collapsed from exhaustion. It sometimes took days. We would track an animal across miles and miles, never stopping, never giving up, until it was too tired to run anymore. That's what we are. That's what we've always been. But he cannot escape. the crystal being said. There is nowhere to run. What does he hope to achieve with defiance? He's not trying to escape, Ilhwa said quietly. He's studying you. Back in the interrogation room, Velthrax was growing frustrated. The alien's breathing holes were opening wider, a sign of agitation that Tae-sung noted and filed away in his memory. I will ask you directly, human. What forms an apex predator? What gives your species the arrogance to challenge civilizations millions of years older than your own? Tae-sung was quiet for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was a dry, painful sound, but genuine. Poor choices, he said. Velthrax's head tilted to one side. Explain. Every step of human evolution was a bad idea that somehow worked out. We left the trees when we should have stayed safe in the branches. We started walking on two legs, which made us slower and easier to kill. We lost our fur and had to invent clothing. We ate plants that were poisonous until we figured out how to cook them. We domesticated wolves, which were literally trying to eat us, and turned them into dogs. He shifted again, leaning forward as much as the chains allowed. We sailed across oceans in wooden boats, not knowing what was on the other side. We climbed mountains because they were there. We split atoms even though it could destroy our world. We went to space in tin cans held together with bolts and prayers. Every single thing that makes us human is the result of someone making a terrible decision and somehow surviving it. Velthrax was very still now. That does not answer my question. Yes, it does. You asked what makes us apex predators. The answer is that we keep making poor choices and learning from them. We don't quit. We can't quit. It's not in our biology. You can kill individual humans, sure. You can blow up our ships, destroy our colonies, win every single battle. But you can't make us stop, because stopping isn't something we know how to do. Tae-sung leaned back in his chair, his chains rattling again. His eyes met Velthrax's large black ones without blinking. You ever wonder why humans are the only species that tell stories about our own extinction? Why we make movies and books about our world ending? About everything dying? About the last survivors fighting impossible odds? No, Velthrax said. It's practice, Tae-sung said. We practice dying because we know someday it might happen. And we want to make sure that if it does, we go down fighting. Every human child grows up hearing stories about the end of the world and the heroes who stood against it anyway. That's what you're fighting. Not just soldiers. Not just ships and weapons. You're fighting an entire species that has spent thousands of years preparing for extinction and deciding that if it comes, we're taking everyone else with us. The room was silent except for the sound of breathing. 3 different species, 3 different types of lungs, all processing what they had just heard. Finally, Velthrax spoke. You are insane. Probably, Tae-sung agreed. But we're the kind of insane that survives. In the observation room, Ilhwa closed her eyes. She knew what was coming next. She had seen it in Earth's history over and over again. Humans backed into a corner didn't surrender. They got creative. They got dangerous. They made poor choices that somehow impossibly worked. The war was far from over. It was just beginning. 5 days earlier, the research vessel Chang'an drifted through empty space like a ghost. The ship was small compared to military vessels, barely 300 feet long with solar panels stretched out like wings on either side. Its hull was painted white with blue markings, the colors of Earth's research division. No weapons, no heavy armor, just sensors, computers, and a crew of 12. Dr. Bora stood in the main laboratory, staring at a holographic display that filled the center of the room. She was Tae-sung's older sister, though they looked nothing alike. Where he was scarred and hard, she was soft-featured with gentle eyes behind thick glasses. But anyone who knew her well could see the same stubborn set to her jaw, the same refusal to quit that ran in their family. The hologram showed a massive structure floating in the void ahead of them. It looked like a cube made of black glass, each side measuring nearly a mile across. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing faintly with blue light. This was the archive, a repository of dead civilizations built by species so ancient that even the Galactic Council didn't know their names. Are you sure about this? Captain Jae-hwan asked. He stood near the doorway, arms crossed over his chest. He was a practical man, former merchant marine with gray hair and a face that had seen too much worry. The Council made it very clear. These archives are forbidden. If they catch us here, they won't just arrest us. They'll destroy the ship and everyone on it. They won't catch us, Bora said, though she didn't sound entirely convinced. We've disabled our transponder. As far as anyone knows, we're conducting mineral surveys 3 systems away. And if the Council has patrols in the area, Then we run or we die. But we need what's in there, Jae-hwan. We need answers. Near the back of the lab, Private Yuna checked her rifle for the third time in 10 minutes. She was young, barely 22, with her hair pulled back in a tight bun and nervous energy in every movement. This was her first deep space assignment, and she'd spent most of it trying not to think about how far they were from home. "Dr. Bora," she said, "what exactly are we looking for?" Bora turned away from the hologram. "The Council attacked us without warning. No negotiation, no demands. They just showed up at our colonies and started killing civilians. Every human on Earth wants to know why. The official story is that we expanded too aggressively, that we violated some territorial agreement. But I don't believe that. Why not? Because I've studied the Council's history. I've read their laws, their cultural documents, their biological databases. They're not impulsive. They don't make mistakes. Everything they do is calculated, planned centuries in advance. So why would they suddenly decide humanity needs to be destroyed? What changed?" Jae-hwan walked over to the hologram, studying the archive with wary eyes. "You think the answer is in there?" "I know it is. The archives contain records of every species the Council has encountered, including the ones that don't exist anymore. If there's a pattern, if there's a reason they targeted us, it'll be in those records." The ship's computer chimed softly. Docking approach initiated. Contact with archive surface in 15 minutes. Bora felt her heart race. This was it, the point of no return. If they entered the archive, they were committing an act that the Council considered worse than murder. They believed some knowledge should stay buried, some truths too dangerous to know. But humans had never been good at leaving mysteries unsolved. "Yuna, you're with me," Bora said. "Jae-hwan, keep the engines warm. If anything happens, if you see any ships on sensors, you leave immediately. Don't wait for us." "I'm not leaving you behind," Jae-hwan said firmly. "Yes, you are. Because if we don't make it back, someone needs to tell Earth what we found. Promise me." Jae-hwan looked like he wanted to argue, but finally nodded. "Be careful." The archive's entrance was a circular opening in the black glass, just large enough for two people to walk through side by side. It had no door, no airlock, just a shimmering barrier that kept the vacuum of space from rushing in. Bora and Yuna stepped through it cautiously, their suit sensors confirming breathable atmosphere on the other side. Inside, the archive was vast beyond comprehension. The walls stretched up into darkness so complete that their helmet lights couldn't find the ceiling. Rows of crystalline pillars filled the space, each one containing data from extinct civilizations. Millions of years of history, all stored in formats that human technology could barely read. "This is amazing," Yuna whispered. "How do we even begin to search this?" Bora pulled out a small device from her equipment pack. "The Council might not want us reading these archives, but that doesn't mean nobody does. There's a black market for archive data. I bought a navigation key from a smuggler last year. It should point us to what we need." She activated the device. A beam of red light shot out, scanning the nearest pillars, then shifted direction to point deeper into the archive. They followed it for what felt like hours, walking through corridors of alien memory, past the ghosts of species that had once looked up at stars and dreamed of touching them. Finally, the red beam stopped at a pillar near the center of the archive. This one was different from the others. Where most pillars glowed with soft white light, this one pulsed with red, like a warning. "What does red mean?" Yuna asked. "It means the Council really doesn't want anyone reading this," Bora said. She connected her portable computer to the pillar and started downloading data. "Keep watch. This might take a while." As files transferred to her computer, Bora began reading. What she saw made her blood run cold. The record showed 17 species, all of them extinct. All of them destroyed by the civilizations that eventually formed the Galactic Council. Each species was different. Some were reptilian, others insectoid. Some were energy beings that existed in forms humans couldn't fully understand. But they all shared certain characteristics. They were tool users. They were social creatures that formed complex societies. They were curious about the universe around them. They were persistent, refusing to give up even when faced with overwhelming obstacles. And most importantly, they were expanding, reaching out to claim new worlds, new resources, new knowledge, just like humans. Bora scrolled through the files, her hands shaking. Each species had been monitored by the Council for years before action was taken. The Council had studied them, measured their technological progress, calculated their potential threat level. And when a species reached a certain threshold, When they showed signs of becoming what the Council called an uncontrolled expansion risk, they were eliminated. Not conquered, not enslaved, eliminated. Every last member of the species wiped out to prevent a future threat that might never have materialized. Oh God, Bora said. It's not about what we did. It's about what we might become. What? Yuna moved closer, looking over Bora's shoulder at the screen. The Council isn't at war with us because we broke their rules. They're at war with us because we remind them of these other species. We're persistent. We're creative. We don't accept boundaries. In another 1,000 years, we might be powerful enough to challenge them. So they decided to kill us now before we become a real threat. That's genocide, Yuna said. Preemptive genocide based on something we haven't even done yet. Yes. Bora copied the last of the files and disconnected her computer. We need to get this information back to Earth. Everyone needs to know we're not fighting because we did something wrong. We're fighting for the right to exist at all. They ran back through the archive, following their suit markers to the entrance. Bora's mind was racing. This changed everything. Humans had been trying to negotiate, trying to understand what they'd done to deserve the Council's hatred. But you couldn't negotiate with someone who wanted you dead for existing. They burst through the shimmering barrier and back into the cold of space. The Chang'an was still there, waiting for them. Bora felt relief flood through her. They'd made it. They had the truth, and now they could share it. Then the alarm started. Multiple contacts. Jaehwan's voice came through their helmet speakers. Council ships, 3 of them, closing fast. Get to the airlock now. Bora and Yuna launched themselves toward the ship, using their suit thrusters to cross the distance as quickly as possible. Behind them, 3 massive warships appeared, their weapons already charging. The Council had been watching, waiting. They'd walked right into a trap. The arena was nothing like the sterile interrogation room. It was a circular pit carved from dark stone, 50 feet across, with walls that rose 30 feet high. Thousands of seats surrounded the pit, filled with aliens from dozens of different species, all come to watch the spectacle. Above them, massive screens displayed close-up views of the arena floor. Taesung stood in the center of the pit, his chains finally removed. His wounds had been treated not out of kindness, but because Velthrax wanted him healthy enough to fight properly. The burns on his arm were covered in some kind of alien gel that numbed the pain. The cut on his face had been sealed. He was still tired, still hurting, but he could move. Across from him stood the champion. Warden Crix was massive, even for his species. 8 feet tall and built like a tank, with thick gray skin that looked more like stone than flesh. Small spikes ran along his arms and back. His hands were the size of dinner plates, tipped with claws that could tear through metal. He wore minimal armor, just plates covering his chest and shoulders because his natural hide was protection enough. The crowd roared as Crix raised his arms. He was famous in the Council territories, a fighter who had won 73 arena matches without a single loss. Criminals, rebels, even trained warriors from other species had all fallen before him. Most lasted less than a minute. Velthrax's voice boomed through speakers around the arena. Humans claimed to be apex predators. They claimed to be dangerous despite their weak biology. Today, we will test this claim. If the human survives for 5 minutes, he will be returned to his cell. If not, then we will have our answer about humanity's true nature. Ilhwa watched from a private booth high above the arena, her hands gripped tight on the railing in front of her. They'd forced her to attend to witness what they called the final demonstration of human limitations. She wanted to look away but couldn't. That was Taesung down there. She'd met him once, years ago, at a military research facility on Mars. He'd been different then, younger, less scarred, but he'd had the same eyes. Patient. Calculating. The bell rang. Crix charged forward with surprising speed for something so large. His fist came down like a hammer, aimed at Taesung's head. But Taesung wasn't there anymore. He'd moved to the side, not far, just enough. The fist hit stone instead of flesh, cracking the arena floor. Taesung didn't try to counterattack. He just backed away, keeping distance between himself and the massive alien. His eyes never left Crix, tracking every movement, every shift of weight. Crix charged again. This time Taesung moved left, then right, staying just out of reach. The alien's claw raked through empty air where the human had been a split second before. The crowd began to murmur. They'd expected a fight, not a dance. Why doesn't he attack? One of the council members in Ilhwa's booth asked. Because he's not trying to win. Ilhua said quietly. He's learning. Crix's next attack was faster. His claw caught Taesung across the ribs, tearing through his uniform and drawing blood. Taesung grunted in pain but didn't cry out. He rolled with the impact, letting the force push him away instead of trying to resist it. When he came up, he was already moving, circling to Crix's left side. The pattern continued for 4 minutes. Crix attacked. Taesung dodged or took glancing blows, never anything solid. He didn't throw a single punch. Didn't try to hurt the alien at all. He just watched, learned, survived. The bell rang again. 5 minutes. The match was over. Medical drones descended into the arena to treat Taesung's wounds. He was bleeding from a dozen cuts, bruised along his entire left side, one eye swelling shut. But he was smiling. Again, he said. The crowd went silent. Velthrax's voice came over the speakers, confused. The match is complete. You survived. That was the agreement. I don't care about the agreement, Taesung said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I want to fight him again. Right now, Crix looked insulted. In his culture, asking for a rematch after losing was the highest form of disrespect. It implied the winner had been lucky, that the result was somehow in doubt. His eyes narrowed with anger. Very well, Velthrax said. If the human wishes to prove his inferiority twice, we will accommodate him. The second match was different. Taesung still didn't attack, but his dodges were sharper now. More precise. When Crix swung from the right, Taesung was already moving left before the blow started. When the alien tried to corner him against the wall, Taesung ducked under his arms and slipped away. He was reading the patterns, understanding the timing. This match lasted 4 minutes before Crix's claw caught Taesung across the back, sending him sprawling. But when the medical drones came, Taesung stood up and said it again. Again. They fought 7 times that day. The crowd's mood shifted from excitement to confusion to something like horror. Crix won every match. Every single one. But each time Taesung lasted longer. Each time he took fewer hits. By the 5th match, he was landing his own strikes, testing Crix's armor, finding the weak points between plates. Ilhua watched it all with tears in her eyes. The other council members in her booth had stopped asking questions. They were starting to understand what they were seeing. This wasn't entertainment. It wasn't even really a fight. It was something humans had been doing for thousands of years. Learning by failing. Getting better through pain. The 7th match started like the others. Crix charged. But this time Taesung didn't dodge. He moved forward inside the alien's reach, too close for those massive fists to build momentum. His elbow struck the gap between Crix's chest plate and shoulder armor. His knee hit the inside of the alien's leg, right where the joint flexed. Crix stumbled. For the first time in 73 matches, the champion was off balance. Taesung didn't stop. He struck again, same spots, building on the damage. His movements weren't powerful, but they were precise, hitting the same weak points over and over. A human couldn't match Crix's strength, couldn't break that stone-like skin with raw force. But humans didn't need to. They just needed to find the pattern, understand the structure, and exploit the weakness. Crix roared and swung wildly, trying to catch the human. But Taesung was already behind him, already striking at the back of the alien's knee. Crix went down on one leg. Taesung jumped onto his back, wrapped an arm around the thick neck, and squeezed. It took 3 minutes. 3 minutes of Crix trying to shake him off, to reach back and grab him, to throw him against the walls. But Taesung held on. He'd learned where to grip, how to position his weight, how to use the alien's own movements against him. When Crix finally collapsed, unconscious, the arena was completely silent. Taesung let go and stood up slowly. Blood ran down his face, his arms, his chest. He could barely see through the swelling in his eyes. But he looked up at the cameras, at the thousands of aliens watching, and spoke clearly. That's 7 matches, 7 times learning the same opponent. Now imagine 40 billion humans all learning from those same 7 matches. How long do you think your champion lasts against the next one? How long before every human soldier knows exactly how to kill someone like him? He turned to face Velthrax's booth directly. You wanted to know what makes us apex predators, this right here. We lose and lose and lose until we figure out how to win, and then we never lose that way again. Medical drones surrounded him, and this time Taesung didn't resist. He let them carry him away back to his cell, leaving behind an arena full of aliens who had just witnessed something that terrified them. A human learning. In her booth, Ilhua wiped her eyes. The council member next to her, the floating crystal being pulsed with rapid light. Your species is dangerous, it said. Yes, HFY agreed. And you're the ones who made us this way. Every species you fought before, they probably tried to match your strength. They probably tried to fight you the way you fight. But humans don't do that. We adapt, we learn. We find the pattern and we exploit it. And now that you've given us 17 months of combat experience, now that you've taught us how you think, how you move, how you fight, what do you think happens next? The crystal being didn't answer. It didn't need to. They both knew. The real war was about to begin and humanity had just finished its learning phase. The council chamber was a massive circular room carved from white crystal that seemed to glow with its own internal light. 12 seats arranged in a circle, each one designed for a different species. In the center of the circle stood a raised platform where witnesses and experts gave testimony. HFY stood on that platform now, feeling very small and very alone. She'd been summoned to explain humanity, to help the council understand what they were fighting. Around her sat the most powerful beings in the galaxy. War Marshal Deck, a creature that looked like an armored insect the size of a car, its mandibles clicking together impatiently. Council Elder Thren, an ancient being that resembled a tree more than an animal, its bark-covered body barely moving, and 10 others, each more alien and terrifying than the last. Researcher HFY, Elder Thren's voice was like wind through leaves, soft but carrying weight. You have lived among your kind and among ours. You understand both perspectives. Help us understand why your species will not surrender. We have destroyed 12 of your colony worlds. We have killed millions of your people. We have demonstrated our superior technology and numbers. Yet humanity fights on. Why? HFY took a deep breath. This was it. The moment where she either helped her species survive or condemned them to extinction. She thought about Taesung in his cell, battered and bleeding but still defiant. She thought about her parents back on Earth, probably hiding in bunkers while council warships bombarded the cities above. She thought about every human who had ever refused to quit, even when quitting was the smart choice. Because you're asking the wrong question, she said. You want to know why we won't surrender. But surrender isn't part of human psychology. We don't have a mechanism for it. Let me show you what I mean. She activated a holographic display and images began to appear in the air around her. This is human history. Watch carefully. The first image showed early humans on Earth's plains chasing after animals much larger than themselves. We evolved by running prey to death. An antelope is faster than a human, stronger than a human, has better vision and hearing. By every measure, it should survive. But humans would chase it for days. The antelope would run until its heart gave out, until it collapsed from exhaustion. And then we would eat it. We won because we didn't stop. The image changed to show ancient human civilizations. We crossed deserts that should have killed us. We climbed mountains that should have been impossible. We sailed oceans in boats made of wood and cloth, knowing many of us would die but doing it anyway. Not because we had to, because we wanted to see what was on the other side. War Marshal Deck's mandibles clicked faster. This explains exploration. It does not explain your resistance to superior force. I'm getting there, HFY said. The images shifted to show human warfare. In your cultures, war is about resource control. You fight until one side gains advantage, then you negotiate. But human war is different. We have a concept called total war. It means we dedicate everything to winning. Every factory, every farm, every scientist, every child old enough to hold a tool. We don't calculate acceptable losses. We calculate how to make the enemy lose more than we do. She pulled up statistics and they glowed in the air. In Earth's 21st century, we fought 2 massive global wars. The first one killed 17 million people. 17 million. It was the deadliest conflict in our history at that time. And 20 years later, we did it again, but worse. The second global war killed over 60 million. We bombed our own cities. We burned our own forests. We destroyed food supplies knowing it would cause famines. We split atoms and created weapons that could end all life on our planet. The council members shifted in their seats. HFY pressed on. And you know what happened after that? We built more atomic weapons. Thousands of them! We built enough to destroy Earth 50 times over. We pointed them at each other for decades, knowing that if anyone launched them, everyone would die. And we did it anyway because we'd rather risk killing ourselves than let the enemy win. Madness, War Marshal Deck said. Maybe, HFY agreed. But it's madness that works. Because at the end of all that destruction, At the end of wars that should have destroyed us, we survived. And we learned. Every mistake we make, we document. Every failure we study. Every death we memorize. We tell stories about our defeats so that future generations won't repeat them. She changed the display to show human art and literature. You asked why humans tell stories about our own extinction. Every human child grows up reading books about the end of the world. We have hundreds of scenarios. Plagues, wars, asteroids, climate collapse, robot uprisings, alien invasions. And in every single story, some humans survive. Some humans adapt. Some humans find a way to keep fighting. Elder Thren leaned forward slightly, his wooden body creaking. You prepare for extinction. We practice for it, Ilhwa corrected. Because we know that someday something will try to kill us all. Maybe it'll be a natural disaster. Maybe it'll be ourselves. Maybe it'll be you. But whatever it is, we want our children to know that giving up isn't an option. That survival is worth any cost. That humanity doesn't end until the last human is dead. And maybe not even then if we've left behind enough information for someone to remember us. The chamber was silent except for the various sounds of alien breathing. Finally, a council member that looked like a floating mass of tentacles spoke. What you describe is not a civilization. It is a collective death wish. No, Ilhwa said firmly. It's a collective survival instinct taken to its logical extreme. You see death wish. We see determination. You see madness. We see adaptation. You judge us by your standards, but we're not like you. We never were. War Marshal Deck stood up, his massive form towering over the platform. Then we have no choice. If humanity cannot be reasoned with, if you cannot surrender, if you will fight until extinction, then we must ensure that extinction comes swiftly. We will mobilize the full council fleet. We will sterilize every human world. We will end this before your species spreads further. You can't, Ilhwa said quietly. We have the power to destroy your entire species in a matter of months. That's not what I meant. Ilhwa pulled up a new display. I mean, you physically can't destroy all of humanity, because we're not just on Earth anymore. We're not even just on the 12 colonies you've destroyed. We're everywhere. The display showed a star map. Red dots appeared, scattered across hundreds of systems. These are hidden human outposts. Some are research stations. Some are mining operations. Some are just small groups of families who decided they wanted to live far from everything else. We've been exploring and colonizing for 200 years. We don't centralize. We spread out. It's instinct for us, she pointed to the dots. You can find some of these. Maybe even most of them. But not all. And the ones you miss will grow. They'll have children. Those children will build ships and spread to new systems. And they'll all remember what you did to Earth. They'll all remember the billions you killed. And they'll dedicate their entire existence to making you pay for it. Revenge, Elder Thren said. You threaten us with revenge. I'm not threatening anything, Ilhwa said. I'm explaining reality. If you exterminate humanity, you create something worse than an enemy. You create a purpose. Every surviving human becomes a weapon pointed at your throat. And human grudges last for generations. We have ethnic conflicts that have continued for thousands of years. We remember insults from centuries ago. Now imagine what we'll do with the memory of genocide. War Marshal Deck's mandibles clicked rapidly. Then what do you propose? We cannot let humanity expand unchecked. You admit yourself that you're dangerous, unpredictable, unwilling to follow the rules that keep galactic civilization stable. Ilhwa looked around the chamber at all the alien faces watching her. I propose you stop trying to kill us and start trying to live with us. Because that's your only option now. You started this war thinking we'd be easy to defeat, but you taught us how you fight. You gave us experience. You made us adapt to facing superior technology and numbers. In trying to eliminate us, you've made us exactly what you feared. A species that can't be destroyed without taking you down with us. She deactivated the display and faced them directly. We didn't want this war. We would have been happy to trade, to share technology, to learn from you, but you chose violence. You chose genocide. And now you have to live with what you've created, a humanity that knows it can never trust the Council, a humanity that will spend the next 1,000 years spreading to every corner of the galaxy, just to make sure you can never kill us all, a humanity that will do anything, sacrifice anything to ensure our species survives. The chamber was quiet for a long time. Finally, Elder Thren spoke. We cannot coexist with a species this dangerous. Yes, you can, Ilhwa said. because the alternative is worse. Keep fighting us, and some of you will die. Maybe a lot of you. And even if you win, even if you manage to kill every human in existence, it'll cost you so much that you'll be weak, vulnerable. And there are other species in the galaxy who would love to see the Council fall. Is your pride worth that? She let that sink in, then continued. Or you can negotiate. You can give us a seat at the Council. You can treat us like equals instead of threats. The alarm started 3 hours after Ilhua's testimony. They screamed through the corridors of the Eternal Judgment, a sound that made every crew member freeze in place. Velthrak stood on the command deck, watching displays that showed impossible things happening all around them. Report, Velthrax demanded. Systems failure across all decks, the tactical officer said, their voice shaking. Communications are compromised. Weapons targeting is offline. Navigation is responding with a 15-second delay. Life support is fluctuating. It's like someone rewrote our core systems. How is this possible? Our networks are isolated, encrypted with mathematics that should take centuries to break. I don't know, Ambassador, but it gets worse. The other 2 Council ships in our fleet are reporting the same problems, and the issues started simultaneously across all 3 vessels. Velthrax felt something humans would have recognized as cold fear spreading through their body. The human prisoner. Bring him to the command deck immediately. 5 minutes later, guards dragged Taesung onto the command deck. He was still injured from the arena fights, but he walked with his head up, looking around at the chaos with what might have been satisfaction. What have you done? Velthrax demanded. Taesung smiled. Me? I've been locked in a cell. How could I do anything? Do not play games with me, human. Our systems are failing. All of them. This is your doing. Actually, Taesung said, it's my sister's doing. Dr. Bora, you remember her, right? From the research vessel you destroyed 5 days ago? Velthrax went very still. That ship was obliterated. All crew members were confirmed dead. Most of them were, but not all. See, while you were chasing the ship, Bora was uploading something to my neural implant, a virus. A very clever, very patient virus designed by the smartest human computer scientists. It sat in my implant dormant, waiting. Waiting for what? For you to interrogate me. To connect me to your medical systems. To scan my brain to see if I was lying. Every time you hooked me up to your computers, the virus copied itself. And it spread. Through your medical network to your command systems. Through your communications to the other ships in your fleet. It's been rewriting your code for days and you never noticed. One of the command deck officers turned from their station. Ambassador, we're detecting similar system failures in Council ships across 7 sectors. This isn't just us. It's spreading through the entire fleet network. Taesung's smile grew wider. The beautiful thing about persistence hunters, Ambassador, is that we don't just chase one target. We chase the whole herd. While you were focused on me on one captured soldier, humanity was infiltrating your entire military network. Every ship that communicated with this one. Every station that received reports about me. Every Council database that analyzed my interrogation data. The virus went everywhere. This is an act of war, Velthrax said. No, Taesung corrected. This is self-defense. You started a war to exterminate us. We're just making sure you understand the cost of continuing it. Another alarm sounded. The tactical officer looked up, their face showing fear. Ambassador, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's broadcast across all frequencies. Impossible to block. Show me. The main view screen activated, showing the face of an older human man in a military uniform. Admiral Hyojun. He had gray hair, hard eyes, and a voice that carried authority. This message is for the Galactic Council, he said. My name is Admiral Hyojun, commander of Earth's defensive fleet. As of this moment, we have compromised 47% of your military network. We have complete tactical profiles on your fleet positions, weapons capabilities, and defensive strategies. We know where your ships are. We know where your colonies are. We know how you think, how you fight, and how to kill you. Velthrax felt their breathing holes constrict. However, the Admiral continued, we are not attacking. We are sending this message to demonstrate that we could, but we are choosing not to. Because unlike you, we don't strike first. We don't commit genocide. We defend ourselves, and right now, the best defense is making you understand that destroying humanity would cost you everything. The screen split to show data streaming past, fleet positions, command codes, tactical analyses, Everything the Council had thought was secure now displayed for all to see. You have a choice, Admiral Hyojun said. You can continue this war. You can try to purge the virus from your systems, though I assure you it's far more sophisticated than anything you've encountered. You can attack Earth with whatever forces still respond to your commands. And maybe you'll win. Maybe you'll destroy our homeworld, but it will cost you half your fleet. And the surviving humans will spend the rest of time hunting you across the stars. He leaned forward, staring directly into the camera. Or you can negotiate. You can give humanity a seat at the Council as equals. You can end this war and accept that we're here to stay. And in return, we'll remove the virus. We'll share our technology. We'll become the allies we could have been from the start. The choice is yours. The transmission ended. The command deck was silent except for the sounds of failing systems and labored breathing. This whole thing was a trap, Velthrax said slowly. The capture of the research vessel, the interrogation of Corporal Tae-sung, the arena fights, all of it was designed to get the virus into our systems. Not all of it, Tae-sung said. Bora really did discover the truth about the 17 extinct species. That was real, but yes, we knew you were watching the archive. We knew you'd intercept the ship. We gambled that you'd capture survivors instead of killing everyone immediately. And we gambled that you'd be curious enough to study me instead of just executing me. Poor choices, like I said, but they worked. You sacrificed your sister, your crew, your own freedom, all for this plan. No, Tae-sung said quietly. We sacrificed all that for survival. There's a difference. Bora knew what she was doing. Every person on that ship knew. We all made the choice to be the weapon that stopped this war. That's what humans do. We make hard choices because the alternative is extinction. Elder Thren's holographic form appeared on the command deck, transmitted from the council chamber. Ambassador Velthrax, the council has voted. We will negotiate with humanity. The alternative is unacceptable. Velthrax wanted to argue, wanted to fight, but they knew it was over. Release the prisoner. Prepare a diplomatic shuttle. We will escort him back to Earth and begin peace talks. One more thing, Tae-sung said. My sister. She's alive. The escape pod from the Chang'an was recovered by a human patrol ship 2 days ago. I want her present at the negotiations. How did you know she survived? I didn't, but humans hope. It's another one of those poor choices we make. We hope even when logic says we shouldn't. And sometimes we get lucky. 3 days later, Tae-sung stood in a conference room on a neutral station, watching ships arrive. Council vessels on one side, human ships on the other. Bora stood next to him, her arm in a cast but otherwise healthy. She'd spent the last 2 days being debriefed by human intelligence, sharing everything she'd learned from the archive. Did you really plan all this? She asked. No, Tae-sung admitted. I made it up as I went along. The virus was your plan. Getting captured was just bad luck. But once I realized they wanted to study me instead of kill me, I figured I could use that. Humans are good at improvising. You could have died. In the arena, in the interrogation, any moment they could have decided you weren't worth keeping alive. Yeah, but I didn't. And now we have peace, or at least the chance at peace. The conference room doors opened. Velthrax entered, followed by Ilhwa and several other council members. Admiral Hyojun came from the other direction with his staff. They all took seats around a large table. Velthrax spoke first. The Galactic Council formally recognizes humanity as a sovereign species with full rights and privileges. We will cease all military operations against human worlds. In return, humans will remove the virus from our systems and agree to respect existing territorial boundaries. Agreed, Admiral Hyojun said, with one addition. You will share the archive data with us. All of it. We want to know about the other 17 species you exterminated. We want to learn from their mistakes. And we want to make sure it never happens again. There was silence. Then Elder Thren's wooden form nodded slowly. Agreed, perhaps it is time those stories were told. Perhaps it is time we admitted our mistakes. Documents were signed. Codes were exchanged. The virus began purging itself from council systems, leaving behind only a small monitoring program to ensure the peace held. It was awkward, tense, filled with distrust on both sides, but it was peace. As the meeting ended and delegates began filing out, Velthrax approached Tae-sung one last time. I still do not understand your species, the ambassador said. You gamble everything on plans that should not work. You make choices that risk your own destruction. You defy all logic. Taesung nodded. Yeah, poor choices, like I said. But here's the thing about poor choices, Ambassador. Sometimes they're the only choices that work. Because when you play it safe, when you do what's logical and expected, you become predictable. And predictable species get conquered or exterminated. But humans? We're chaos. We're the species that looks at a terrible idea and thinks maybe, just maybe, it'll work out. And just often enough it does.